Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a review of Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. Now, this is my first McCammon novel. I finally did it. This is an author I wanted to pick up for a long time, especially being a Stephen King fan for many years. I've heard tons of comparisons between the two, that there is a big overlap amongst their fan bases. And I think that is fair, even off this limited sampling that I've had. There's a lot of similarities here with King, but there was a literary quality to McCammon's writing that I did not expect. I greatly appreciate it and has me even more interested in pursuing his novels going forward. Now, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to start. I've heard a lot of different conflicting opinions, whether to go with, Swan Song or Boy's Life or They Thirst or Wolf's Hour, a bunch of different ones. And I'll likely get to those down the road, but I love the supernatural coming of age story. This was a relatively short read, and the reviews for this are phenomenal. So it seemed like a no-brainer, right? I had a great experience with this book. I loved it. This is probably my favorite read I've had of this year so far. So I'm probably just going to gush about this and hopefully convince you to pick it up. But real quick, what is the book about? Well, it's set in the 1960s in a small Alabama town called Zephyr. And you follow a boy named Corey who's around 11, 12 years old. And it is Corey's coming of age experience starting at the basically summer vacation carrying over into the fall. But it kicks off right away when Corey goes with his father, who's a milkman, on his route in the morning, and they witness a car plunge into the lake. Now, Corey's father jumps in after this car, trying to save the driver, do the right thing, the heroic thing, but he quickly realizes that the driver has been murdered. He's got piano wire around his neck, he's brutalized, he's handcuffed to the steering wheel. This is a very unusual occurrence for this otherwise quiet town. Now, the primary plot of the book is a murder mystery. You're trying to figure out who was this man and who walking amongst them in this town of Zephyr was responsible for this crime. Now, that's a pretty straightforward plot. Everybody can understand that, and it's interesting on its own. But what makes this book special and so critically acclaimed is each chapter component being a kind of vignette or short story kind of exposing these formative experiences of this young boy, Corey, as he transitions from, a child to an adult. And you see a lot of the stuff that are present in other coming-of-age stories, like witnessing weakness in your father, confronting bullies, falling in love for the first time, questioning authority and adults, and sympathizing with, teachers and people who you usually isolate yourself from. They're all present here, but the way that McCammon handles them is just so beautiful, and he injects this wisdom into each little component that just overall makes it a great read. It's a nostalgic read. It's going to bring you back in time to your youth, remembering how you've gone through similar experiences. Now, maybe these are exaggerated because this is a work of fiction, but even then, I think anyone can connect to what's in these pages. Now, the way that McCammon writes, I think, is perfect for this book. I don't know how well it carries over into other novels, but his writing style is very, very simple, which works perfectly for this because it makes you feel immersed into the child's experience. It doesn't take away. You're pulled right into the perspective of Corey, and you're feel like you're in the town, you're going through this experience, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, McCammon will inject this wisdom, pull you out of it, and you get the perspective of adult Corey, in his 40s, looking back, and he has this hindsight and this perspective on what happened to him then, how it relates to everyone around him, and then ultimately how it affects him as an adult. And the balancing act that McCammon does between these two styles of narrative structure it's incredible, and it was seamless, and it created for just these kind of heartwarming, impactful moments where just like single lines just made me take pause and really think about not only what's happening to Corey, but things that have happened in my own life relevant to his experience. So, very well done. I completely understand why people love this book, and I think you should pick it up. This is a book for anyone. You don't have to be a diehard horror fan to read this. And it is a horror novel, but it's kind of borderline. It's not very scary. I'll put it that way. I think die-hard horror fan would love this, but this is also a book I could give to my mom and know that she would enjoy it the same. So I don't really have a lot of complaints about this. Typically, I touch on the cons. I think the only thing that comes to mind is if you are expecting this twisty, turny, kind of punchy, fast-paced thriller around the murder mystery, you're not going to get that. It's not that kind of book. But those vignettes and those heartfelt moments of this coming-of-age story are worth the read. Absolutely. Your time is well warranted picking this up, and it's fairly short overall. So give it a try. I cannot say it enough. I would be shocked if you didn't like this. This is such an accessible, fun read for anyone who loves spooky books, who loves atmospheric books, who loves books about small towns, or who just wants to have that nostalgia factor and go back to the magic of their childhood. So until next time, see you.